There is a quiet space waiting for you now, a gentle invitation to let the day dissolve into stillness. As you prepare to drift toward rest, allow your awareness to settle just for a moment onto the feeling of weight in your mind. This is not just physical fatigue. It is the cumulative weight of experience, the memories held, the worries anticipated, the expectations clinging, and the endless stream of thoughts that refuse to be silent. We often carry this mental clutter like an invisible cloak, believing that if we only rest enough, the noise will somehow disappear. But true rest requires more than just physical repose. It demands a gentle unpacking of what we are carrying. In this space, we begin to explore the nature of this weight. What is suffering truly? It is not merely the sharp pain or sudden disappointment we often associate with the word. Suffering or dukkha is deeper. It is the inherent instability of existence, the subtle friction created when our minds cling desperately to things that are constantly changing. Think about your mind right now. It is a restless river, ceaselessly flowing over stones. We build dams of thought, piling up anxieties about yesterday and fears about tomorrow, creating rapids where calm water should be. This clinging, this grasping is the root of the clutter. It is our deep-seated attachment to the idea that things should be different, or that certain experiences must stay fixed in place. When we attach ourselves to outcomes, to specific memories, or even to a particular state of calm, we introduce friction into the flow of life. This resistance, this effort to control what is inherently fluid, generates suffering. The mental clutter arises because we treat our experience as solid and permanent, when in reality, everything is in constant flux. Life itself is impermanent. The way you feel right now, the thoughts that rush through your awareness, they are all momentary. They arise, they change, and they pass, like clouds drifting across the sky. If we accept this fundamental truth of impermanence, we begin to see our clinging not as a failing, but as an understandable reaction to a reality that is constantly shifting. The weight you feel is the result of trying to hold onto the transient. It is the mental energy spent fighting against the natural rhythm of change. The path toward release is not about suppressing these thoughts or forcing them away. It is about softening our grip on them. It is a slow, gentle turning inward, allowing us to observe the clutter without judgment, recognizing that it is simply a pattern of mind, not an absolute truth of reality. We learn to let go gently. Imagine holding water in your hands. If you squeeze it too tightly, it breaks. If you release the grip, it flows freely. Our mental clutter is like that water. It has momentum, but it can be allowed to move and pass without resistance. We practice noticing the thought, acknowledging its presence, and then allowing it to soften, letting it become just another passing wave instead of an anchor we must constantly fight against. As you rest now, allow this gentle release to guide you. Let the weight of the day settle softly onto the mattress. Do not try to solve every worry or examine every memory. Simply let them be. Trust the inherent nature of things. That change is natural and stillness is available. Allow your awareness to drift into a deep, receptive quiet, knowing that the clutter will dissipate naturally, leaving behind only the peaceful expanse of present moment. May this quiet rest bring you profound, undisturbed peace. As we settle deeper into this quiet space, let us turn our attention now inward, allowing the gentle release we practiced moments ago to guide us further. We have learned how to soften our grip, recognizing that the mental clutter we carry is a pattern of mind, not an absolute truth of reality. Now, let us explore what suffering truly is, moving beyond simply acknowledging the noise, and instead understanding the landscape within which that noise exists. Suffering, or dukkha, is often misunderstood as acute pain, the sharp sting of loss, the frustration of unmet desire. But in the deepest sense, it is less about the immediate sensation and more about the inherent instability of existence itself. It is the subtle friction created by our minds trying to hold onto what constantly changes. We are not suffering because something terrible has happened. We are suffering because we are clinging to a fixed reality that is, by its very nature, flowing and shifting. Think for a moment about the thoughts that swirl through your mind throughout the day, the worries about tomorrow, the regrets of yesterday, the endless planning of what might be. These are not just random noises. They are manifestations of our mental clutter. This clutter arises from attachment, the deep, subtle way we grasp onto things as if they were solid objects that must remain exactly as we perceive them. We cling to expectations, we cling to past memories, and we cling to future outcomes, believing that if we just hold on tight enough, we can secure peace. But this grasping is the source of the friction. Because everything in our experience is impermanent, everything arises, exists for a time, and passes away. To try and stop that flow is to create resistance. The mental clutter is the constant struggle against the natural rhythm of change. It is the restless energy generated by insisting that things should stay still, that the past must be perfect, and that the future must be controlled. When we attach ourselves to these fixed ideas, we place an impossible burden on our awareness. We try to use our mind as a static anchor in a constantly moving river. The suffering then arises not from the external event itself, but from the internal tension created by this mismatch, the gap between what is and what we desperately wish it were. To understand this, we must embrace the nature of impermanence, or anicca. This is not a depressing concept. It is simply the most accurate description of reality. Every thought, every feeling, every sensation is momentary. A wave rises, it crests, and it recedes. The shadow shifts, the light changes, the emotion transforms. There is no solid, unchanging self that we can cling to, and this realization is profoundly liberating. When we observe our mental clutter, we are observing these fleeting patterns of mind. We see a worry arise, we notice the grip of anxiety forming around it, and we allow ourselves to witness it without judgment. This observation creates a space between the feeling and the reaction. It allows us to recognize that the thought is merely a pattern, not an absolute command, and the emotion is temporary, not permanent. This shift in perspective changes everything. We stop fighting the flow of experience and instead learn to observe it with gentle curiosity. The clutter does not vanish instantly, but by simply acknowledging its impermanent nature, that it is just a passing mental event, we diminish its power over us. We stop feeding the fire of resistance, allowing the momentum of awareness to carry us through the moment rather than dragging us into endless internal struggle. As you prepare to rest now, allow this understanding to settle in your awareness. Recognize that the weight you feel is not a permanent burden. It is simply the temporary manifestation of clinging. Let the mental clutter become just another wave, moving effortlessly across the vast ocean of your awareness. You do not need to fix it or erase it right now. Simply rest within the space created by this gentle observation, knowing that true stillness resides in recognizing the flow and allowing yourself to be still amidst it. May this recognition lead you into a deep and restorative peace. As we settle deeper into this space of awareness, let us turn our gentle attention to the heart of the matter, the root of the mental clutter that keeps us awake and prevents true rest. This is where we explore attachment and craving, the very forces that give shape to our internal experience. When we recognize impermanence, we see that everything changes. But knowing something changes is not the same as accepting it easily. The friction arises when we attach ourselves desperately to what we wish to hold on to, or dread what we fear losing. This clinging is what transforms simple awareness into a heavy mental burden. Attachment is the way we solidify our grip on the present moment, weaving desires and expectations into the fabric of our thoughts. It is the impulse that says, "I need this comfort," or "I must control this outcome." Craving is the active striving born from attachment. It is the relentless pushing against reality, attempting to force things to remain as they are, or to change into what we desire. Think about your daily experience. Consider the feeling of wanting a certain outcome in a conversation, or the distress that arises when you realize something has gone wrong. These feelings are often fueled by craving. We crave ease, we crave certainty, we crave a specific version of reality. When these cravings are unmet, or when external events disrupt our expectations, the mental clutter begins to build. It is the internal resistance, the fight against the flow of experience, that creates restlessness. This mental clutter is not caused by the thoughts themselves. It is caused by the reaction we generate toward those thoughts. We cling to the story we are telling ourselves about the present moment. We attach ourselves to the idea that things should be different, or that a certain level of comfort must be maintained at all costs. This clinging creates a loop. Desire leads to effort, effort leads to friction, and friction is the clutter we feel as anxiety or tension. The path toward release is not about eliminating these desires entirely, for life requires action and intention. Instead, it is about softening the grip. It is about observing these attachments and cravings with pure, non-judgmental awareness. Imagine your mind as a river. The thoughts and emotions are the currents. Attachment and craving are the rocks we throw into that water, trying to dam or redirect the flow. Letting go is simply ceasing the frantic effort to control the current, allowing the water to move naturally. When you observe the urge to cling, the desire to hold onto a specific feeling or outcome, notice it gently without judgment. See it arise, feel its shape, and then allow it to pass. You are not fighting the desire. You are simply witnessing the mechanism of desire at work within your awareness. This act of gentle observation creates space between the craving and the reaction. By releasing the need to control every outcome, by softening the grip of attachment, we allow the mental clutter to diffuse. The weight does not vanish instantly, but it loses its binding power over you. We stop feeding the fire of resistance. Instead of struggling against the flow, we simply rest within the space created by that gentle observation. As you prepare for sleep now, let this insight settle in your body. Release the need to fix or erase what is happening. Allow the mental clutter to become just another wave moving effortlessly across the vast ocean of your awareness. You do not need to hold on to it, you only need to allow it to be. Find stillness not by stopping the movement, but by resting within the flow itself. May this gentle letting go lead you into a deep and restorative peace. Sleep well. When we settle into the space created by that gentle observation, we begin to understand the very fabric of experience. We've learned how to soften our grip on desire, but now we turn our attention to the nature of reality itself, impermanence. This is not a philosophical concept to be debated. It is simply the way things are. It is the fundamental truth that underlies every moment of our conscious awareness. Impermanence means that nothing in the universe, and certainly nothing within our minds, remains fixed. Everything is in a constant state of flow, of becoming, and of passing away. Look at your breath. The inhale is not the same as the exhale. It is a perpetual dance of change. The light outside shifts every second. The feeling you have right now is already dissolving into the next sensation, and the mental clutter you perceive is constantly arising and dissipating like clouds across the sky. We often experience suffering because we cling to the illusion that things should stay exactly as they are. We want our calm moment to be permanent, we wish our peace to solidify, and we desperately try to halt the natural rhythm of change. This resistance, the effort to freeze the flow, is where the deepest friction occurs. It is the struggle against the very nature of existence. When we attach ourselves to a thought, we are attempting to pin down a wave that is already moving. When we hold onto an emotion, we are fighting against its inherent tendency to shift and transform. This clinging creates tension. It forces us into a state of resistance, which is the source of mental clutter and emotional distress. The moment you try to control impermanence, you create a new layer of suffering on top of the original experience. Understanding impermanence does not mean falling into nihilism or apathy. It means seeing things exactly as they are, constantly unfolding. It is recognizing that the feeling of restlessness, the anxiety of the mind, and the sense of dissatisfaction are all temporary states. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Just as a shadow moves across the wall, it cannot remain static. It is defined by its movement. This realization offers us a profound freedom. If everything is impermanent, then nothing we experience, no joy, no pain, no worry, is permanent. This knowledge gently invites us to stop demanding permanence from our inner world. We can release the heavy burden of trying to hold onto fleeting sensations or banish passing thoughts, because we accept that they are simply part of the current moment. The mental clutter is not a collection of static problems waiting to be solved. It is the dynamic flow of a mind that resists change. By accepting impermanence, we stop fighting the flow. We stop trying to fix what cannot be fixed, and instead we find rest in allowing the natural process to occur. When you allow thoughts to arrive and depart without judgment, when you recognize that your feelings are transient waves rather than solid anchors, the energy spent on resistance finally dissolves. Let the mental clutter become just another wave moving effortlessly across the vast ocean of your awareness. You do not need to hold on to it, you only need to allow it to be. This acceptance is the path to true stillness. It allows the tension to release, not by forcing the movement to stop, but by resting within the rhythm of the flow itself. As you prepare for sleep now, let this truth settle in your body. The constant shifting of experience is not a source of chaos. It is the very mechanism of life. Trust the natural movement. Allow yourself to rest in the spaciousness of impermanence. May this gentle letting go lead you into a deep and restorative peace. Sleep well. As we settle into this space, let us turn our attention now to the path itself, the path to release. We have recognized that mental clutter is not a set of problems waiting for a solution. It is the dynamic flow of a mind that resists change. And having accepted the nature of impermanence, that everything is in constant motion, we can now gently move toward release. Letting go is not an act of forceful erasure, nor is it a sudden, dramatic emptying. It is a practice of softening. Imagine your thoughts and feelings as clouds passing across the sky. When we are cluttered, we try to push those clouds away, demanding they stop moving, or trying to force them into stillness. This resistance creates tension, pushing the energy deeper into our shoulders, our jaw, and our chest. The gentle path of release asks us to simply observe these thoughts as they are, without clinging to them, without judging them as right or wrong or good or bad. Think of your mind not as a battlefield that needs conquering, but as a vast, open ocean. The mental clutter is the ripple and current, the natural movement of the water. Our job is simply to be the water itself, spacious, accepting, and unattached. When a thought arises, a worry about tomorrow, a memory from today, a plan for the future, we notice it arriving. We acknowledge its presence. Instead of immediately engaging with it, trying to analyze it, or fighting it, we grant it a moment of space. We allow it to be there, like watching a leaf float by on the current. This simple act of non-engagement is the core of letting go. This practice is subtle but incredibly powerful. It shifts the locus of control from our internal struggle to the natural rhythm of consciousness. When we stop fighting the flow, we stop expending precious mental energy in resistance. The tension that was held in the fight begins to dissipate, releasing the grip on the present moment. Let this be your invitation tonight. When you notice the clutter gathering, the anxious loop, the repetitive worry, the mental chatter, do not immediately try to silence it. Instead, pause. Breathe into the space where the thought resides. Recognize that this is just a passing wave of awareness. Gently release the need to fix, to categorize, or to hold on to it. Allow the clutter to simply move through your awareness, like smoke drifting away from a flame. Allow yourself to rest in the spaciousness created by this letting go. You do not need to solve every problem before sleep. You only need to soften the grip of the mind so that it can finally rest. Trust the natural process of the mind, which is always flowing, always changing, and always impermanent. As you sink deeper into this tranquility, feel the weight of your body dissolving, piece by piece. The mental clutter has been released, not banished, but permitted to drift away, leaving behind a quiet, open space. You are no longer tethered to the noise. You are simply resting in the deep, undisturbed stillness that underlies all experience. May this gentle release guide you into a deep and restorative peace. Sleep well. As you settle into this space, remember the invitation we just accepted, the permission to let go. You have already begun the beautiful work of releasing that mental clutter, allowing those repetitive loops and worries to drift away like smoke in the air. Now, as your body grows heavy with rest, we turn our attention to cultivating the stillness that naturally follows this letting go. Stillness is not an empty void. It is a space filled with pure, undisturbed awareness. Think of your mind not as a frantic treadmill full of demands, but as a vast, quiet ocean. The mental chatter, the planning, the remembering, the worrying, these are just waves passing across the surface. When we try to stop the waves, we create resistance and struggle. True stillness comes not from stopping the waves, but from recognizing that you are the open water itself, untouched by the movement of the water. The secret to finding this inner calm is simple: cultivating a gentle observation. When thoughts arise, and they will arise because the mind is nature, do not immediately judge them or chase them away. Instead, simply notice them. See the worry as a ripple, the memory as a shadow, the planning as a fleeting idea. Recognize them as temporary events happening within your awareness, without needing to attach yourself to their content. This practice shifts your relationship with your thoughts entirely. You move from being entangled in the story of the thought to simply being the space in which the thought appears and then fades. Imagine you are sitting by a calm riverbank. The thoughts are the boats passing by. You do not need to step into every boat or try to steer them. You simply watch them flow by, recognizing their presence without getting swept away by their current. To deepen the stillness, anchor yourself in your breath. Your breath is the most immediate and reliable guide back to the present moment. When the mind begins to wander into the realm of yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties, gently bring your attention back to the physical sensation of the breath entering and leaving your body. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils and the warmth leaving them. Focus entirely on this subtle rhythm. This rhythm is always here, always present, and it is the deepest source of immediate rest. Let the breath become the gentle tether that pulls you out of the mental noise and into the physical reality of the present moment. With every exhale, consciously release any remaining tension held in your shoulders, in your jaw, in your forehead. Allow the physical body to soften, noticing where you are holding stress, and consciously inviting that area to relax. You do not need to force the stillness. It is a natural state waiting to be discovered. It is simply the space created when the constant effort of resistance ceases. This inner quiet is the deep rest you seek, a profound peace that exists beneath the surface of all mental activity. Rest is not something you have to earn through perfect silence. It is something you allow yourself to inhabit once you stop fighting the flow of your own nature. As you continue this gentle observation, allow the awareness of your body to register the deep, heavy comfort of being completely present. Feel the weight of your limbs sinking into the surface beneath you. Trust that this spaciousness is enough. There is nothing left for you to do, nothing left to fix, only the quiet presence of deep, undisturbed rest. May this gentle stillness envelop you completely, guiding you into a profound and restorative sleep. Sleep well.